Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our July webinar. We're here today to talk about setting up an employee as a UK business, and we're going to be covering several areas relating to payroll, pension, HR considerations. And I'm delighted that we're getting a few of our chosen specialists here today to join us. So we've got Lee from obviously PayCheck, he's our head of managed services. We've got Emma from our specialised HR partners, Pace. And we've got Becky from Vere, who's going to come from pensions with us. So just a quick overview, a bit of housework as well, just to let you know we will be recording this webinar for you. So, if you do get interrupted, don't worry, you can come back. We're going to share a recording afterwards. We're also going to be asking about what topics you'd like to hear from next. We've got a few suggestions here. So in the Q&A bit, if you'd just like to say as we're going through the webinar, what your preference would be. So are you interested in talking about setting up contracts for new employees? Or topic number 2, pension setups, which is covering the different sets within pensions and what's best for employees. And we've got a third option here, transitioning from P11D to PBAK. So yeah, if you could just leave your thoughts in there as to what you'd like to learn next. And also we will be, covering off any questions at the end. So do feel free to put any questions on there, and we'll cover those off at the end of the webinar. So just an overview of what we're going to be covering today then. So as I said, representation from PayCheck, Vere, PaceHR. We're going to be covering off HR considerations, benefits and pensions, and PAYE and Nest, and how it all works, comes together in choosing your provider, implementing the payroll, and how that process works ongoing. So a bit about me. My name is Mark Sapsford. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager for PayCheck. Joined PayCheck back in 2023, but I have actually been in the industry for over 24 years now, supporting businesses from one employee up to a couple of thousand. So I actually started off on the payroll side of things in my previous life, and then moved into sales much later on. So yeah, I've got a good round understanding. I'm very much here at PayCheck. The reason why I moved to PayCheck is because they still provide that traditional managed payroll service. A lot of bureaus have moved towards front-end systems and things now, but we still stuck to the traditional things. And, we basically become your payroll department in a different building. So for those that don't know us, if you want to reach out to us after this webinar and make an inquiry, we can compare your current provision against what we can do. So it'd be good to talk to you. Okay, going to hand you over to Lee now.
Afternoon, everyone. Yep, I'm Lee. I head up the managed services here at PayCheck. Over the last 18 months, I've been focusing on optimizing those processes, documenting procedures, and identifying and implementing improvements to ensure we remain efficient and also adhering to the best practices. Been working closely on our compliance and ISO certification on 27001, and 9001 standards, making sure that our policies are reviewed, the audits are completed in line with those, and also on the client satisfaction service reviews with the aim to enhance our services and provide to ensure we're working with the clients in the most efficient way, and supporting your internal controls and integrating with systems where possible. So PayCheck are entering their 30th year of providing payroll and pension services to the industry. We're servicing over 500 clients, sorry, 1,500 clients, correction, and 50,000 payslips monthly. And we're sending out anywhere between £2 to £3 billion in backs payments a year. We have a brilliant team, individuals who genuinely care about the industry and the services they provide. We hold over 450 years collated experience in the industry. We're the trusted payroll provider for your payroll and pension needs. And yeah, we're looking forward to working with you. I'm going to hand you over to Becky at Vere.
Thanks, Lee. Hi, everyone. I'm Becky, and I'm a corporate independent financial advisor at Vere. Vere, a long-established firm and one of the UK's leading independent financial advisors. I'm a corporate financial advisor, so my area of specialism is advising businesses on a wide range of their advice needs, from advice on setting up a pension scheme and remaining compliant to the full range of employee benefit offerings that an employer may or may not wish to offer. We have 17 offices in the UK, so a nationwide business, and you can see our Trustpilot score and details of the our assets under influence, so the monies that we're investing on behalf of our clients. Chase de Vere are independent financial advisors, and all of the advisors at Chase de Vere are really proud of that. That just means that when we're making a recommendation on behalf of our clients, we're able to access products from the whole market, and we believe that that means that we can make a recommendation that is the most suitable for our clients. You've got a little bit more information about me on the screen now. So I've been with Chase de Vere since 2001, so just about to come into my 25th year advising clients at Chase de Vere. And myself and Chase de Vere are really proud of the industry awards that I've been able to secure in the last few years. Most recently, Best Pensions Advisor at the National Corporate Advisor Awards. So hopefully I'll be able to give you a little bit of insight today on things to look out for in terms of setting up a qualifying workplace pension scheme and making sure that you do that correctly. I'll now hand over to Emma at Pace for her introduction and content.
Hi, so I'm Emma. I'm one of the directors at PaceHR. So Pace is a small boutique HR consultancy, and we work with clients across the UK and in other territories. We offer flexible, agile HR solutions to fit with you and your business, whether that's startup, scale up, or a full outsourced HR provision. We have offices in London and in Leeds, and as I said, we've got clients nationally and internationally. So we'll work with them to provide advice and guidance, make sure they're being legally compliant as well as following best practice, but then also offering services up to a fully outsourced HR solution where we become part of your wider team and essentially an extension of your existing HR team or your current team that's in place. I've been with Pace since October 2023. I've been working in HR for a lot longer than that though. So I've had experience of consultancy and in-house roles, including FMCG, professional services, charities and technology. My kind of passion in HR is looking at employees and their experience and getting to know an organisation and their culture to understand how we can best support you and we can add value to your people strategy. So I think I'm going to kick things off today by talking about what you need when you hire your first employee in the UK. So first of all, we're going to cover off the legal side of things. So it might seem really obvious, but contract of employment is one of those things. We have, there used to be some flexibility on when you put this out to your employees. That now has to be done by day one of their employment. It can be a breach if not. So some aspects of the employment are legal requirements. So you need to have the name of the employer and the employee, their job title, place of work, date employment began, the pay and the pay frequency, the hours of work and the holiday entitlement are legal requirements. But good things to put in there as well, which just prevents any confusion or disagreements later down the line, would be the notice period, any probationary periods, things like confidentiality clauses, intellectual property rights, and any restrictions upon termination. That's definitely to help protect you as a business as well. And then also giving yourself options for garden leave provisions and any pile-on provisions too, and making sure you've got flexibility for employees to work elsewhere in or out of the UK if needed. You've then got your handbook that you should have. There's a lot of policies that you're legally required to have and a lot that it's best practice to have. So I think at the start of your handbook, you want to set the tone. So you want the company details, but that's also your opportunity to really set out who you are as an organisation and a little bit more about your culture and your values. And then as groupings, you'd want policies such as your reward policies. So looking at any pay, bonuses, benefits that you might offer. You want your attendance policies. So holiday, sickness absence, jury service, compassionate leave, anything that might fall into that attendance bracket. You've then got your health and safety policies that you need, including fire safety, any risk assessments, VDU usage, making sure that's covered off, and then disciplinary and grievance policies. So they can also go into your contract, but I'd always recommend popping those into your handbook so that you've got flexibility to amend them as needed. You then got into the really exciting stuff. So that's your data protection and GDPR policies. So they tend to be quite long-winded, Most of your employees won't be that interested in them, but you need to provide them with details of how you're storing, using and collecting their data. So it's really important you have that in there. You also need to have equal opportunities and diversity policies. You need code of conduct policies. So that would set out things like the behaviours that you expect, and you can include things in there such as social media usage, internet usage, whistleblowing, harassment and bullying, and so on. You also should have a modern slavery policy in there. That's a requirement depending on the size of your business. So if you don't need it legally, we'd still recommend having it. And then anti-bribery and corruption policies are really important as well. You should have security policies just in terms of your data and your systems and access and what that looks like. And then finally, you've got your family-friendly policies. So that would include maternity, paternity, adoption leave, shared parental leave, the new neonatal considerations that came in from April, and flexible working policies as well. So that would kind of make up the basis of your handbook. From day one, you need to be carrying out right to work checks for your employee as well. So you need to make sure you've got evidence that they do have the legal right to work in the UK. You also need to register as an employer with HMRC so that you're set up and you're good to run with those things. And then taking into account as well pay considerations. So you've got the national living wage that you need to comply with, but it's always worth considering if you want to push and become a real living wage employer instead. You need to make sure you're set up for pensions and auto-enrolment, and Becky's going to talk you through more of that shortly. And you need to make sure you are maintaining the accurate, correct records for your employees, making sure you've got all employee relevant starter forms, details, and you're keeping that in a secure and safe way in line with your policies in your data protection section. And then just finally, you need to be set up to pay your employees, because that's really, really important, and they won't be with you for long if you don't. So you need to make sure you're set up with Payroll, and obviously PayCheck can support you with that, and making sure ideally people have a P45 when they start, or using a HMRC new starter form if not. So that's the legals, but when you've got someone starting, it's your opportunity to sell to them as well. So in terms of making it good, it's really important. It's a really good opportunity to look at what you do for induction and onboarding. Again, like with the handbook, that's your opportunity to kind of really set the tone and the culture. You can talk about what your company values are. You can have a look at what your mission statement might be. And you can look as well at organisational and individual objectives, because those for the individual should feed into the organisational ones. And it's really good to set that out at the beginning. Now, not for most roles, there's no legal requirement for DBS checks or references. That will vary in some industries, but on the whole, there's no legal requirement. References can be really worthwhile taking up though, just so that you can make sure what someone's told you on their CV actually matches the history. And it's also a really good idea to have a job description in place, not only for when you're advertising, but for when you're working with an employee, to develop them, looking at their appraisals each year and looking at what you're putting in place for them. There's also policy enhancements that can be made. So that kind of ties in a little bit with benefits. That might be things such as offering enhanced sick pay or family-friendly pay. You might be wanting to enhance your reward policies. So you might be looking to offer things such as private health insurance or long-term sickness insurance. So it's a really good opportunity when someone starts to kind of look at the kind of business and employer that you want to be and make sure you've got those things in place from day one. So that's everything from me. I'm going to hand you back over to Becky now to talk you through pensions and getting that all set up.
Thank you, Emma. So as Emma mentioned in her first slide, you may have to set up a qualifying workplace pension scheme. Assuming that you do have to set up a qualifying workplace pension scheme, you'll also then have to automatically enrol employees and pay contributions on their behalf. You can choose what that pension scheme looks like, and we can provide some guidance to help you with that. So we've got a lot of data on what other companies of your a similar size to you do in your sector in terms of pension contribution, but ultimately we'll also be supporting you with making sure however you choose to structure that pension scheme complies with automatic enrolment legislation. That's the key for you, is the compliance with the legislation. You might decide to set up a relatively basic pension scheme initially, maybe while your business is growing. That's absolutely fine. Or you may decide that you want to set up a scheme that provides flexibility and choice for your employees, and gives them the opportunity to have the best standard of living in retirement. So we can talk to you about all of the options that you have in relation to the type of pension scheme that you set up, and also how much you pay into that pension scheme, whilst making sure that you comply with legislation. PayCheck do have a number of service options to support you with automatic enrolment, and if you're a small business, then that service is going to be pretty key for you, because PayCheck will effectively take a lot of the automatic enrolment administration away from you with a lot of the service provisions that they provide. But I'll let PayCheck tell you more about that. But if in our discussions, we're talking about pension schemes and contributions, it might be that I can help you decide how PayCheck can support you as well, and then you can have those conversations with PayCheck separately. You don't have to provide any other employee benefits aside from the pension scheme, but you might choose to do so. And as we've got benchmark information on the level of pension contribution that you might want to consider, we've also got a lot of data that we can provide you with on what do other companies provide in your sector by way of employee benefits. By providing a comprehensive benefit package, obviously aligning with whatever budgetary spend you've got to dedicate to your employee benefit package, but that can help retain your existing employees, help keep them happy and secure in the role that you've appointed them to, which will ultimately help save on recruitment costs if they leave to join a competitor who does have an attractive benefit package in place. But it will also, if you're looking to grow the business, that benefit package may also help you attract other employees from your competitors if they don't offer a comprehensive benefit package too. So you might want to consider offering company paid life insurance, perhaps private medical insurance, some form of long-term disability insurance, just as examples. But I can chat you through all of the options available to you whilst considering your budget and also your company objectives. And then my final point on that slide is that you might want to consider also looking at business protection insurance. So whilst not a legal requirement, there are a range of different business protection insurances that would protect your business against the loss by death or serious illness of a key individual or shareholder to the business, and business protection policies are there really just to make sure that should the worst happen, that the business is able to continue. So if you wanted to investigate whether you need any form of business protection, then do feel free to reach out and we can go through your requirements there. So I mentioned in the previous slide that you may have to set up a workplace pension. So you will have to set up a workplace pension scheme on the first date that you employ an eligible employee. An eligible employee is anybody over the age of 22, and we do know that that age is likely to decrease to 18 at some point in the future. That's gone through Parliament already, so we're just waiting for a date on that. But currently anybody over the age of 22, anybody who earns over £10,000 a year, who's under state pension age and who works in the UK. So if you have an employee who fits those criteria, then you must automatically enrol them. You deduct their contributions from their salary, you pay a contribution, employer contribution on their behalf, and you pay that straight into the pension scheme. There's no asking the employee whether they want to join, or even if the employee tells you before you automatically enrol them that they don't want to be in the pension scheme, you still have to automatically enrol them. Trust me, if you're audited by the pensions regulator, they will want to see that journey of a new hire being automatically enrolled. Once the employee has been automatically enrolled, if for any reason they do decide that they don't want to be a pension scheme member, the control is with the employee. They have 30 days from which they're automatically enrolled to opt out of the pension scheme. Any contributions that they've had deducted from salary can be refunded back to them. And obviously you as employer will receive a refund of your employer contributions too. And then in the future, if that employee stays with you, it may be necessary to re-enroll that employee into the scheme. So every 3-year anniversary of your original duties date, you've got to complete a re-enrollment exercise where you do a sweep up. Anybody who's previously opted out, you have to automatically enroll them back into the scheme and issue the statutory communication. And if they still want to opt out of the scheme, then they have to follow that refund process again. In terms of level of pension contributions, you might decide that you want to contribute into the scheme based on the automatic enrolment option that's the lowest cost to you. Or, as I mentioned in the previous slide, you might decide to structure the pension scheme to be competitive in your sector. And that's all insight that we're able to provide you with at Chase de Vere. And then my final slide, just because it's a common consideration where you have a relatively small business that's looking to grow, take on its first employees. There is a director's exemption for automatic enrolment where you wouldn't have to provide a qualifying workplace pension scheme. But the flow chart here gives you a bit of a guidance and idea as to whether that director exemption applies or not. So you'll see if the director doesn't have a contract of employment, then they are exempt from automatic enrolment. If they do have a contract of employment, but there isn't at least one other worker with a contract, then that director is still exempt from automatic enrolment. So there's no requirement to automatically enroll that director. However, if the director has a contract of employment and there is at least one other worker with a contract, then that director must be automatically enrolled into the pension scheme. If anybody wants any more information or a review of your own business structure, then please do feel free to let me know. The purpose of this slide here, because Chase de Vere are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, it's whenever we're conducting webinars, it's just really important that we give details of our approval status, our registered address, and also the disclaimers as shown on the screen there. I'll now be handing back over to Mark at PayCheck to tell you a little bit more about how PayCheck can support you.
Thanks, Becky. Yep. So from a PayCheck point of view, obviously, set up a new PAYE. You're looking to, run your business. So we're there to take care of all the legislative payroll side of things for you. So as part of the consultation, I'll be speaking to you about, how you plan to set up the payroll, type of frequency, whether it's monthly, weekly, fortnightly, discuss pay dates. Obviously, you need to nominate a pay date each month, and that's something we work towards. And we can also do things like organising payments for you through the BACS process as well. So once you're all happy to proceed with this, then there's just an agreement comes in principle. We are having to do, but we're required by law, because we're kind of processing payroll transactions. We have to do anti-money laundering checks on 2 directors within the business or those with significant control. And then once we've got all that in place, then we're clear to then move on to the implementation stage for you, where you'll be attributed to a dedicated implementer who will then do the take all the employee data from you. Will provide you with a secure portal to upload that data to. They'll then start work on the data load. As mentioned before, if we do BACS setup, that can typically take between 3 to 4 weeks for BACS to issue user numbers. So that's something you need to tie into the process. And then we do the completion of the implementation process. So that's basically where we'll ask for a copy of your last payroll run before we start processing the payroll from live for you. We'll sanity check that against our figures, make sure that it's all clear from day one that we take over for you. And then we're in space to then complete the first payroll run for you. So that whole process kind of takes up to 4 weeks in total. We normally say from a lead-in time, working on those parameters, a 6-week kind of lead-in time from you gauging interest with us to us getting it all set up for you should be ample. And as part of the process, as mentioned, as long as you're based in the UK, we can register the POE scheme for you as part of our services as well. That normally takes up to 4 weeks to do, but they have got a bit of a backlog at the moment. So if you are looking to set up a scheme shortly, just bear that in mind. We have had feedback there's a kind of an additional 4-week delay, so that it could be taking as long as 2 months at the moment to get a POE reference number. And over to Lee now to discuss that setting up Nest scheme, if that's something we're choosing to do.
Yeah, so as Becky mentioned earlier, PayCheck offer a full end-to-end pension service under our PC Nest offering for the setup of the qualifying pension scheme. Once we have the completed registration form from the clients, we will set up the scheme with Nest. And then once the terms and conditions are approved on the Nest portal, we will set this up in the system. And during that payroll process, we'll assess the employee's eligibility, calculate the pension based on those scheme defaults. And once the payroll is approved, we'll be making sure that the uploads have gone to the pension provider and confirm your joiners, leavers and contributions for that period. So that will just ensure that you remain compliant and we take over that full process under the PC Nest service. Any
Thanks, and
require there, obviously, you can reach out to Chase de Vere accordingly.
Thanks, Lee. So what's the payroll processing look like? So we work on a 7-day turnaround for monthly payroll. So counting back from your pay date, so you submit the payroll to us. We then start working for our payroll processing and doing all the calculations there for you. As mentioned, we stay away from software. We don't want you having to get involved in long, costly training sessions to inform us how to give us input instructions. It's very simple. You just complete a timesheet template with us, or more commonly these days, people are working from extracting HR data out of the HR system, because that's where your kind of employee data starts from. So we can take extracts from there to import. Then the payroll team start the calculations for you. 48 hours later, after you submitted the payroll to us, we'll then send you an email to say your reports are now available to view. You'll then log back into our secure portal, approve the payroll, and that gives us a PayCheck confirmation you're now happy to us to submit this as a live run. And from there, there's some actions that we take. So we will obviously send off your RTI files to the HMRC on your behalf. If we do have BACS set up for you, that's where we create those BACS payments files. We can do those to cover salaries, the tax and NI that's due over, the POE totals, and any third-party payments as well. So, if you're going to set up gym memberships, social clubs, give us your own, that kind of thing, then they can be used in third-party BACS allocations as well. As mentioned before, BACS is treated as a credit facility, so you have to apply yourselves through BACS with your company bank. But like I say, they can normally issue a number within 4 to 6 weeks. Once they've issued that number, that then gets linked to PayCheck's bureau number, which gives us permission to send it off on your behalf. So the great advantage to that is if you're planning to go away, that's covering a payroll period, it means that actually, as long as you've notified us that you're going to send the payroll in early and you wanted it to be run early, we can actually do all that processing for you. So it's all sat there. You've signed it off ahead of when you go away, and that BACS file is still sat there waiting for that predetermined BACS date as your regular payroll runs. And then obviously something else to consider when you're getting close to Christmas. A lot of companies move their payday forward at Christmas time. So we proactively reach out to all of our clients to, anticipating how the calendar's falling, when we're expecting people to pay. If that doesn't fall in line, then we're asking people to reach out and let us know. So we practically hold your hand through the whole process for you.
Yeah, just touching back on the PAYE process. So obviously it's an important part of the process to ensure that you're informing HMRC of what's being paid to employees and what your company liabilities are. So after the payroll is completed and the sign-offs received, we take care of ensuring the FPS and the EPS is submitted to the HMRC within those deadlines. The FPS is the full payment submission, which in simple terms tells the HMRC who you paid, how much you paid them, what taxes and deductions you took, and what you paid them, and what's submitted over before or on payday. The EPS, the employer payment summary, which sends over the employer liability figures for statutory payments, tax allowances, if you claimed apprenticeship levy, employment allowance. This is due to be submitted on the 19th of the following month. It helps HMRC then know if you don't owe any PAYE on the tax, and also apply any reductions or refunds correctly. and avoid you getting any penalties or incorrect PAYE bills. PayCheck are able to make the payments on your behalf, as Mark mentioned, if you're using our back services. The payment to the HMRC to remain compliant is due by the 22nd of the following month. So for your PAYE liabilities in April, for instance, you'll be paying over those payments to the HMRC by the 22nd of May.
Thanks, Lee. And one of the other things, additional considerations to think about when you start up a business, and something I'd cover off with all clients when we're speaking to them, is about, depending how your company's going to operate, whether you're going to have people on salaried or hourly paid people. Sometimes you have hourly paid people, that can cause complications with, if you're paying from the first to the last of a full payment month, you'll always kind of projecting and anticipating the hours that people are scheduled to work for. That can quite often lead to lots of post-payroll calculations, because if you anticipate somebody's going to be in for the last week of the month, but they then phone in sick or whatever, you've already submitted your payroll data and that's already been run. So again, to avoid those kind of things, you're taxed at point of payment. So actually we have kind of two aspects about when you're paid, but it doesn't necessarily have to align directly to when your pay period is from. So lots of companies, in hospitality and things like that, or cleaning companies, security companies, who have that, unknown about the hours that people are scheduled for, whether they're going to turn up or not. It's always a good idea to kind of look at a mid-month to mid-month payroll process. That means that the data you're submitting to us is counting for half of the previous month up to the middle of the current month, which means that all of that data you're submitting to us is live and it's already been done. So there's no future projections there or any post calculations. So that's just something to think about as part of that process, to think about your company, how it's going to run, and those just little extra considerations for you. And it's just an overview here of the service that we can provide. Becca mentioned about our pension service, and Lee touched on the Nest service we can provide for you. So obviously, we're not just restricted to Nest. If you speak to Becca about the best pensions that can be offered, we can also work with the leading providers in that area as well, so we can still provide that overall managed auto-enrolment service, where, as well as doing the assessment through the payroll, we'll actually do the uploads of the pension files for you to your chosen pension provider, and we can produce letters of communication for you. We'll also get a standard connected to your government gateway ID. So during the course of each month of running the payrolls, if there's any tax code notifications that come through to that government gateway waiting to be applied to employees, the first thing we do when we run the payroll is we access your government gateway and pull in any coding notices from there. If you have any queries from the HMRC that are company level related, again, we're more than happy to liaise with the HMRC on your behalf about that as well. So, like I said at the beginning, we really do become your payroll department based in a different building. So, do give us a call if it's something you're considering setting up a business, or you already have a business and you're just looking to outsource that burden of payroll, then please reach out to us. We'd be happy to have a chat with you. So now we're moving on to the Q&A section. So let me just stop sharing my screen for a moment. So we've got a question here. I have a lot of short-term staff who earn at a rate of more than 10k per annum, but will earn much less whilst with us. Are they eligible for auto-enrolment?
Yes, potentially. So your payroll provider will assess the individual in relation to however you pay them. So if you pay them monthly, for example, the 10,000 eligibility criteria for auto-enrolment becomes £833.33. So if you pay, even if that individual is only a short-time worker, if you pay more than £833.33 in the period, then potentially, yes, they are eligible for automatic enrolment. What you can utilise for short-term staff is an allowance within the legislation, which is called postponement. So you can postpone your requirement to automatically enrol that individual for up to 3 months. if you're audited by if you use postponement and you're audited by the pensions regulator, they are still going to want to see, the journey of automatic enrolment with the correct statutory communications in place with that employee. And if you use postponement, you have to issue a postponement notice to the individual employee within their first 30 days of employment to tell them you're going to automatically enrol them in 3 months. But the postponement notice does specifically state that if the employee wants to join proactively within that 3-month postponement period, that there's a process for them to opt into the pension scheme. And if they opt in, then you take contributions from them, and you also have to pay employer contributions. So postponement's there to help you sort of manage short-term employees, and hopefully that was a comprehensive enough answer to say yes, they are eligible, but Chase Vere and PayCheck can help you with that postponement process as a workaround, and just make sure that you send those statutory communications out properly.
Thanks, Becca. And while I've got you and you just answered that question, we've got another one alluding to something that you mentioned earlier on about what types of business protection can we set up?
So there are lots of different types of business protection. You can set up key person insurance to give a cash injection to the business, to allow the business to continue in the event of the death or serious illness of a key individual in that business. And that might not necessarily be the owner of the business. It might be a key salesperson, or some, if you're a technology company, maybe one of your software engineers that's got a lot of knowledge and experience. So you can set up key person insurance to put a cash injection into the business to allow you to boost profits, pay high recruitment fees for somebody temporarily to come in. You can also set up insurance to protect what happens to the business in the event of death or serious illness of one of the shareholders. And the type of business protection that you set up there would depend on the structure of your organisation. So if anybody does want any more information on that, then do feel free to let me know. You can protect loans if the company's taken loans, and often they will be repaid in the event of the death or winding up of a company. So lots of considerations to effectively protect the business there.
Thank you. One for you, Lee. How do I set up a new employee without P45?
Yeah, so we can set up a new employee without P45. So there is a starter checklist that the HMRC have available, and also we can provide that to our contact. And so within that, it will complete a declaration to confirm your status and whether or not you've been working in that year, and it will apply a standard tax code accordingly. It'll also have information about any student loans that you've supplied. So actually, we do tend to ask for a starter checklist to be supplied, even if you do or don't have a P45, because those student loan details are equally relevant on that form, and gives us that bit more information.
Brilliant, thank you. And one more for Becca, I think. How do I set up a salary sacrifice arrangement for employees?
That's a really good question, because we're doing a lot of salary sacrifice, also known as salary exchange at the moment for our clients. So salary exchange is a tax efficient way of structuring your employees' pension contributions into the plan. In terms of setup and how we would support you, we'd help you with working out what savings you as a business might make if you decide to structure employee contributions in that way. And then we discuss your options in terms of implementation and how you communicate with your employees. Again, always with a focus on making sure that you remain compliant with automatic enrolment legislation. But if salary exchange is something that you want to investigate, it can be done for very small businesses with just one employee, then do feel free to reach out and I can walk you through what your savings are likely to be and all the steps that you need to take to make sure that that's compliant.
Thanks very much. That appears to be all we have the questions we have at the moment. If you do have any more, please do reach out to us and we'll direct those over to Emma, Rebecca or Lee, whoever is best placed to answer them. Just a reminder, as I mentioned at the beginning. Yes, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you. There is one more. You perhaps can't see it on the the end of the chat. Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, go on.
Because it's a PayCheck one. Can employees log in their times directly from the PayCheck portal? And can the report be processed directly from the portal?
Yeah, so we do have some ability for timesheets to be logged on from the employee portal for their hours. We do also have a partner in with all-day time and allowance, which is another product that we can add on to the services, and we get reporting from those. And then in regards to the reports, if I've taken that question correctly, so yeah, the reports go to the client on the client portal, and you're able to approve those, view those, download them all via the client portal. So yeah, they're able to be processed from the portal if you want to approve them.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lee. So yeah, just a reminder on the topics that we set up at the beginning for our next webinar, just so we can get all set up for that. So if you can just let us know which subject you'd like to learn more on, whether it's setting up contracts for new employees, pension setups, the sets of pensions and what's best for employees, and or option number 3, transition from P11D to PBIK. That was quite a hot topic last year. The revenue have moved back on that another year. They've given a bit of an extension on the deadline. So I'm sure that's one that will get a lot of input as well. So thanks again for everybody joining. Like I said, if you do have any questions, then please do reach out to us. We're more than happy to answer those. If you want to come to PayCheck directly, if it's questions for Rebecca or Emma, any queries about HR or pension services, benefit services, then we'll direct those to them for you. And yeah, please do reach out to us if Payroll is of interest to you. So thanks very much for joining us. Like I said, this will be shared once we've edited it all and sent out, so you will be able to catch up on recordings at a later date if you need to. Please do like and follow us all on LinkedIn, and that way you'll proactively get any notifications about future webinars that we're due to bring out. So thanks very much for your time. Thanks very much to Becca, Emma and Lee for hosting the webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.